Okay, hi everybody. It's Robert, and I'm here today behind the cards. And today we are talking with Frankie Seme. She is a friend of mine. I met her quite a while back doing psychic fairs. She's an organizer. She has her own center, a little bit of kindness, where she promotes spiritual growth and healing. And I brought her on today to talk about her journey and what she has to offer to our community because I just adore this woman. I want you all to know that. Okay. So, hi, Frankie. How are you?
I'm great and right back at you, Robert.
I The deck that I've chosen to draw questions from today is the
Okay.
Healing Light Tarot because I think of you in a healing way. So this is perfect.
Oh,
All right. So the first question obviously is the Fool. You are a tarot reader and a spiritual entity. How old were you when you started your spiritual journey? And then how old were you when you picked up your first tarot deck?
so I started my spiritual journey probably in my early 20s, and it kind of correlated with a really good friend of mine, who I'd been friends with for a while, brought me my first deck, and it's a Scarpini medieval deck, and I still have the deck to this day. It's my favorite, one of my treasured decks, and I love the medieval time. So she gifted me this deck. And for years, I would just play with it, but I was taking classes at different places and studying, but never feeling quite confident back then to really read without looking at the book or just doing it for fun with some friends until I took some classes. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah.
How tough was it for you to pick up the cards? I mean, did they start speaking to you in the right way right away?
They did. I think it was the course that I took at Omega with Rachel Pollack and Mary Greer. And it was a 5-day tarot course. And, I've been playing with them till then, but nothing major. Always, I think the biggest trepidation when you're learning to read cards is to believe that your intuition is true and that what you have to tell people is true. And I think that's like a fear to overcome for most people, myself included. So I thought, well, I could read the book and I've learned the technical meaning of the cards. But when I was in their 5-day class, it was just so amazing the things and exercises that they walked us through. And then I went home, and all of a sudden, it gave me a whole new perspective of like not looking at the cards to read the book, but actually trusting my intuition with what the cards meant all along, and also, using the cards more as a tool or a guide to give the messages than just thinking they have to have a technical meaning. So for me, that was the aha moment. And I think it was when we took one card from the deck in the class and we were in a circle, inner circle and an outer circle.
Hmm.
And the one exercise she had us do was to, with one person standing in front of us using the same card for everybody, they're going to ask you one question and you're going to answer that question from looking at the card. And it was amazing to me by the time we got through 5 people that you're looking at this card, but every time you look down and you look back up, the card totally changes. You notice different, it almost like the card took a life of its own, where I was like, this is like an aha moment that you could do this with one card and it has nothing to do with the technical meaning of the card. The card changes in the meaning for everybody and everything they need to know.
It does. They change depending on the situation, the question, the cards next to them, your frame of mind. A lot of factors go into it. Um, my aha moment came when I started looking at the cards as people. Uh, then I started giving them personalities and foibles. And so now when certain cards come up, I'm like, hey, bitch, what's up? It clicks in my head automatically that they carry this specific energy. Um,
Yeah,
the magician is the next card on our journey. And
love that card.
this brings me to ask, when you first read professionally, were you nervous?
Of course, I can't think of anyone I've talked to who said they weren't. And I think there's still moments where I go to read in the beginning of an event and I'm always like, oh, like I kind of got that little seed of doubt until you just get in the moment and spirit starts talking to you, and then like sometimes it's, I call it diarrhea of the mouth, like you just start saying all of the stuff and you're not sure where it's even coming from, but it's just like so much needs to come out to tell that person. And so yeah, it was just a nervous of like, sitting down and being trepidatious about, well, this is like first thing I want to go to the technical meaning of the card, especially if when I was practicing on friends, in the beginning, practice on friends, practice, they kept saying. So, I'd be like reading them, but then I just started kind of going with it. And the more comfortable you let yourself go with the person and the more you feel, comfortable with the situation, the more things come out and the more the person starts going, oh my gosh, how do you know that? Or how, like, it's just that validation that I think
I
after a
always
while
tell them, I always say, it's almost like I do this for a living, right?
Yeah, so it's that point where someone says to you, oh my gosh, like everything you said meant so much. And even if I say like it's yellow and I don't know what yellow means to me, it's just yellow, but to them, it's that moment where yellow has a significant meaning for them. And so if I'm teaching a class, even I'll tell people like you don't have to know necessarily what the message is, you just have to trust enough to give the message. And usually it has significant meaning to the other person.
Yeah.
And I said to just trust and say it. It's like, and even sometimes still I'll go, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this because I'm like, this is totally making no sense, but it totally makes sense to the person. So you have to really trust that intuition.
A lot of the time I'll sit here and stare at the cards, and after a few seconds I will just tell them, look, at this point I'm staring at pretty pictures. I'm going to tell you what it means, and you tell me if it's relaying a message to you, because I don't always understand what's happening. I'm just delivering it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No.
And when getting back to the color situation, color is a big thing. If you notice my logo at the top up here, it's on a field of yellow for communication. And that's
Uh-huh.
so color, it does play a big thing in everything.
Yeah.
How, speaking of communication, how would you describe your communication style?
I think I always like to I'm a positive thinker. So there's always a positive spin to what you're telling somebody, even if it's something like a situation that maybe doesn't is a little bit negative. There's always a positive way to turn it around. So, in all my training and learning, there's a lot of ethics that go along with reading for people too,
Yes.
because people can believe something enough to take it to an extreme. So you want to be very cautious sometimes what you say to people and how you say it. But if you can portray it in a way that is healing for them and gives them a positive outlook. Like a lot of times people will be like at the end, well, what about romance or this? And none of that came up. And I'll be like, but you're on this journey. Like this is your journey. First, you have to go through these baby steps to get to that bigger step that you're looking for. So until you go through those steps, you're not ready. And even if you jumped into that relationship, it probably wouldn't work out anyways because you're just not in that right place. So I think it's just letting people know that there's messages and things that they're here to learn and hear, and it's to help them grow as a person. And that when they get through those lessons, that there are other things on the other side. But you got to take those baby steps before you learn to run. So
When it comes to my communication style with tarot, I've said it before, I always start off professional. I always start off ready to relay a certain frame of influence. But somewhere along the line, I turn into Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost and be like, "Ooh, you in danger, girl!" you know, it without fail every time. um, which
no,
is
or I'm an empath, so like when I get that feel, I'm like, oh my gosh, like girlfriend, what you're going through is whole. Like I can't even. Like it's just like, oh my gosh, like that enormous feeling, and I'm so sorry, like, and they'll look at you like they know right away. But I'm like, oh wow, like, and until I got that feeling, I had no idea what you were really going through, and I'm so sorry.
it's
So.
true, and a lot of the times you can vouch for this is when you're doing a reading, you may point something out to somebody that they may be ignoring in their life because it's too painful to face.
Mm.
But they need to take a look at these things. And we can't make them look. We can suggest they look in this direction. That
Absolutely.
is a big
No,
thing.
I would totally agree.
The High Priestess is the next card on our journey. Um, the High Priestess deals with intuition and psychic ability. Would you consider yourself a psychic?
Yes, I have studied mediumship, and then sometimes I will get specific images or messages of someone that I know is a loved one that has passed, but I'm more psychic than medium. So I can't always peg a loved one from who has passed to give it a specific message for. More, I just get messages, and I'm not really sure who they're coming from or where, but it's just messages that they need to hear. So my understanding when I was studying mediumship as well as psychic is I would be blurting out, "Oh, I know this and I know that," and the medium instructor would be like, "Frankie, that's psychic, that's not medium, so like that's okay, but that's not what we're doing right here in this class."
I'm
So that was
about to start my mediumship
a
because I've started working with my ancestors and I want to have a
nice.
clear line of communication. So I'm going to be working with Miss Val, and
Awesome.
who is going to be on this channel in a couple weeks. So look
Great.
forward to that, everybody. Yay, we love Val.
Yeah.
Um, intuition. I just did an interview with Paul Hudon. You know
Yes.
Paul.
I
I met
love Paul.
23 events. I met Paul at, and I see him every time we do an event. Um, his books deal with trusting your intuition. How tough was it to start trusting your intuition?
And again, it goes back to that you're always doubting yourself. So I think the intuition part was after like getting Doreen Virtue Angel certified and taking, I'm a lifelong learner of spiritual classes. So I've taken all class in just about anything you can imagine.
Right.
And sometimes you take what works for you, you leave the rest, right? I believe that. But it was like after taking that second course with tarot, that it was like it wasn't about the technical aspect. Everything kept coming around. Every class you take comes around to it's really about your intuition and trusting what comes to you. And we all receive things in different ways. And those are our messages. And then not only that, it's like the color yellow, like it's interpreting what that means to you, but also what that means to the person. And so after like taking all of these classes, I said it really comes down to these are all just tools. It's really my intuition and the messages that I'm getting that are what I'm giving to other people. And I think that was a big aha moment too, is like, these every class I could keep taking classes, but really it's all about trusting what is coming to me and what I'm interpreting the cards to be. So the cards could be XYZ, they could be 1, 2, 3, but for me, it might be something totally different. And like we said earlier, for everybody you read for, the card takes a different life of its own and a message. So, it really is trusting your intuition, and everybody has intuition. It's like when you go to the grocery store and you think something will tell me you need milk, and I'm like, I don't need milk, and you go home and what did you need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thought of not trusting my intuition was something I had to battle for a long time simply because um, I saw other people having success in certain arenas with certain tools in certain ways. But because I couldn't do it in the exact same way they were doing, I just shined it on. I didn't want anything to do with it. I said, obviously, I can't do this. I'm not meant to do this. Well, it goes back to what you just said. It wasn't my technique. I couldn't make that mental and spiritual connection in the way they were trying to show me. It wasn't until a lot later when I ended up trusting my intuition and um, discovering my own path. And now, when I do give classes or take on students, trusting themselves is the primary focus of me teaching somebody. I'm sure it's the same for you. We can't teach somebody how to be intuitive, but you can put them in the right room and show them how to pull things. Okay. The next up is the Empress card. Are there any other gifted individuals in your family?
Well, I'll tell you. So my grandmother who raised me was Romanian. And I would like to say she was Romanian gypsy, probably.
So
And
she
she would
was
wear the babushka on her, head and stuff. And she came from Romania as a kid. Um, and she would joke with me because she knew I would like to go. We'd love to go to get our cards read or to a psychic fair when we were in our early 20s. And she'd be like, I can put my babushka on and read your card. But she was devoted Catholic, came over and that was kind of her thing. But she said a couple profound things to me throughout like my lifetime that came true, like that, just really made a lot of sense. And I really believe she was gifted, and whether, she just chose not to, necessarily follow through because she was trying to follow the traditional religion at that period through the Great Depression. But mostly my family doesn't really, they're devout Catholics, and I was raised Catholic. So they're very, don't really want to hear much about it. And I just kind of came out the last 5 years of like, I'm not going to be embarrassed or ashamed to be who I am. I'm getting older and I want to own who I am. And, if they like it, and my one aunt said to me, she just said, well, don't bring those cards out and read for me or anything. And I go, I wouldn't do that to anyone unless, you asked me. I said, I wouldn't just walk up to
goes
someone
back
and
to
randomly.
ethics.
It's
There
ethics.
is people don't
Yeah.
understand. We do have a code of ethics when we sit down to read. Some readers won't
Absolutely.
read for certain types of situations or clients. They won't read third party. They won't
Yeah.
try to see death. They won't,
There,
everybody
there,
has their guidelines, and it's up to the individual to discover theirs. Um, the next card up is the Emperor. Now, have you ever faced any kind of backlash from friends or family? I know you said don't bring those
yeah.
cards around. What type of
Mm,
backlash have you faced because of your beliefs or spirituality or use of
I think
cards?
I have my uncle who's very close. He's my only uncle. He's a lawyer, so he tended to be like, "Oh, you're a spiritualist. You're going to Lily Dale spiritualist. Like, were you talking to dead people? Like, and he's asking." And I said, "I guess to me, spirituality is just that, like, I believe in nature, and I believe we all have intuitive gifts, and I don't believe you don't have to go to a church to worship a higher power, like, so he just got into a really debate, and I just realized like you can't argue with people who everybody has their belief system. If that's his belief system, I'm not here to argue mine. So I respect anybody's belief system that they have. I just don't ask that they don't impose their belief system on me. And I'm not going to impose. I would never walk up to someone and be like, "Oh, you've got to let me read your cards, and you got to believe what I'm telling you." And like, I would never do that. So you do get that. And I will say occasionally, like someone has gotten on the Facebook page and then they just spout a lot of negativity or you're a demon and this and that. And I just feel like if people are really spiritual, why would you want to hurt someone else
Yeah.
intentionally? That doesn't
I've got
add
a
up
thing
to me.
against bullies. I've got a
Yeah,
huge thing against bullies, especially bullies who are going after people I care about.
yeah.
I can't deal with that. Don't go that route. You won't like what you find there, people. Trust me.
Yeah.
I
No,
wasn't
I just
always a spiritually evolved person.
I just tend to shut them down, and I feel like if you don't give anybody spend your energy on them, they'll go
Right.
away. So,
Sometimes it's fun though. So who was or has been the most influential teacher that you've had so far?
I think they all bring something to the table. Like I love going to a class and there's at least one thing you take away from that person that's a little bit of a different perspective and really resonates with you. And for me, it's that key of, you know, when you come to a class, like you don't have to believe everything that person says, and it doesn't have to be meaningful, but there is something for you probably to take away. That's why you were there. My
Yeah.
friend who gave me my very first deck was probably one of them. And I think that week that I spent in Omega, which is an amazing place, if you ever get to go to Rhinebeck, New York, they have all kinds of different classes there. It's a huge retreat center. Those two teachers, Rachel Pollack and Mary Greer, like that week there and the way they opened up a whole new thing, that was probably a big aha moment for me as well.
Gotcha. I have been lucky enough to have several family members who pointed the way growing up. I come from a family of spiritualist brujas and witches. It's a Mexican thing, you know. But I've been lucky that way. I've also had backlash in certain areas, but growing up in the era that we grew up in, we're Gen X, baby. We just don't care what other people think a lot of the time. It's what it boils
Yeah.
down to. Your beliefs do not affect me, people. The chariot is the next card up, and it makes me want to ask you, what drives you?
I think I've always felt compelled to, I love empowering people and helping people. And I will be the person who picks up someone hitchhiking on the road. I will give someone money at the grocery store who's older and doesn't have enough to pay their thing. And I just love, I love kids. I love teaching. I just love the, like the vision you can see for someone, and I love to see them succeed. And that's kind of like what this whole mission is about. It isn't about me, it's about like, who can I bring together? How can I promote other people? How can we all bring each other up? Because when we all are positive and want to help each other do the best that we can, isn't that just create great energy for everybody involved? Like to me, there is no competition. We're all, competition is good for the soul, but there's no reason to tear anyone down. And why should we not build somebody up? And if I can help somebody fulfill like something they've always wanted to try, or encourage them, push them out of their comfort zone and say, hey, like, I know you can do this. Why don't you just give it a try? Like, and then
Yeah,
they do, and then they're so excited. Like that's what drives me. I love seeing people do better
cool
and
when you can
helping
do
other
that.
people.
I'm guilty of being that person who tries to force their friends out into situations they're not comfortable with. I mean, one of my best friends, Miss Taro D, Mama D, uh, I'm one of the reasons that she's now doing pro readings. I kind of pushed her into it
That's okay. She's
because
awesome. I love her.
I
So
know what she's capable of. She's a wonderful teacher. I'm so happy that she's on
yeah.
the road that she's on, and I can't wait to see where it goes for her. Um, let's see, the chariot. Uh, well, the last question on the chariot would be: when did you realize? At what age you were like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do?
Hmm. Read cards for people. It was probably in my 40s that I really said, I've taken all these classes. I've paid other people to go to readings. I think I can do this, And so it was that I made this goal. I said, I'm going to do one event every month for the next 6 months and just put myself out there and try it. And so I booked back in Ohio, we had a lot of different psychic fairs in our area, and so you could pick lots of to go to. So I did for 6 months. I went once a month and I participated and had a booth as a vendor or was a reader. And I went there and read for people, and it was amazing. And that was kind of like, the testing thing. And I said, oh, like now I know like I could do this. So it was probably not till my 40s that I mean, it was always fun and playing with each other and cards and friends when they would come over, but it was never professional for money. Um,
Um, uh, on a side note, we do live in the same county, and they do have psychic events. The first one I saw you at wasn't one that you were putting on and hosting. It was at the mall. And I was
Yeah.
working at another local shop at the time. And I had met you from that shop. I didn't know that you were doing tarot reading until I was at the that event. And I look over and there's Frankie sitting there waiting for her next client. I was like, hey, I know you. So that was kind of cool. The strength card is our next card on the journey. What has been your greatest triumph or victory that you can think of? What is something you're most proud of?
I would have to say it's this last year of like, I came here and said, I'm going to try to start this. My daughter said, Mom, you're looking for the spiritual community in your travels. Everywhere you go, people kind of are drawn. Why don't you just start one where you're at? And I'm like, oh, there was an aha moment. And I said, well, okay, like maybe I could do this. And so I came down here and I met the most amazing people in this area. Such great spiritual people, so friendly, so uplifting everywhere, that I started this. And just the fact that we had over 100 people come to that first psychic fair, where I was like, when I rented that hall, I thought, I may end up paying this for this totally myself because nobody may even come. I may not have nobody here to vent.
The one at the hotel here, huh?
Yes, and
That
it
was
was
such a good event. Yeah,
it
I
was
was
amazing.
stop that day. I could not. I think I had like 14 or 15 readings that day.
Yeah.
Um,
So it was amazing. In this whole year of like, even this week, I just had 10 people reach out to me that I totally don't even know who want to partake in the one coming up. So it's just this amazing snowball this year of meeting the most amazing people here
your
from
daughter
all
was
different,
right, my dear.
yes, from all different modalities and people. And someone's going, well, like, let me introduce you to this person, and then I'm introducing them to somebody else, and it's just been like so great. And to watch even like everybody kind of blossoming a little bit just from doing the fairs and stuff, and I just think it's great to see this community and people can come together, and you can encourage people to step out of their comfort zone and present things they probably wouldn't even have thought they could do.
I gotta say I'm pretty impressed with the evolution that you've shown just since I've known you. I think you're pretty incredible. Um, the Wheel of Fortune is our next card. What since life is constantly evolving and life is now different than it was 2 years ago, what do you think it's going to be like in the next 2 years?
So my next 2-year goal is to keep making connections, meeting new people, and I want to have another piece of property where we actually have a spiritual retreat center where people come for weekend retreats or classes. We have more of these big psychic fairs. We do more classes where people come, and a lot I'm seeing of the premonition for some of the things to come is that we would do more healing retreats, because I'm seeing people have different healing needs, either from substance, either nurses healing the healer, or just people our age trying to figure out like either they're empty nesters, or what do you do after 50? It seems like there's this big conundrum of people of like, what do we do now that,
Yeah.
you maybe raised your kids and you're at this point in your life where you want to take it a little easier. And so I foresee this huge retreat space with acres where people can come with their RVs, where we have cabins, we have overnight stays in the dorm, we have classroom events, and maybe a little cafe and maybe a little metaphysical store. And that is been my goal, is to be able to fund it and to be able to find the right location. And I feel like I have such a
We need
great
to
sense of
get here in this town
community
because that
here.
would be phenomenal. I
Yes,
would be a part of that. Um,
absolutely.
I also just
So
realized that I pulled the cards out of order. I skipped over the Hermit card. So when you look back, if you were given a chance to change one thing, what would you change?
hmm, I think I would have started this journey to do the spiritual center a lot sooner.
Do you think you would have been ready for it or as open?
Probably no, and I don't know that I would have met this group of people anywhere else. It's weird. In my adult life, I have to say I came here and I've been here a year and I have made more amazing friends than I ever have my whole life. And then they're not just, casual acquaintances. These are like some really amazing people. And I told my friends, like, even if I left here and moved somewhere, I don't even know that I would ever have this opportunity. And who would think it would be here in Sierra Vista? But I'm like, this has just been an amazing journey this last year.
It really is a cool area. And I have my own spiritual beliefs about the area
Huh?
itself
What
because
are they?
well, I'll go ahead and tell you, I'm going to sound kind of weird when I say it,
No.
because we live by the border and illegal crossings are a huge thing where we're at. And there's so many people dying making this crossing right here. This is becoming a spiritual liminal space over time. And I can't quite nail down what type of energy is developing, but this energy in this area is very powerful. And I'm I haven't had a chance to look into the ley lines or anything like that where they converge around here, but it's definitely something I want to examine.
That's that would be a whole great topic to
Right? Excuse me.
vortexes, vortexes, ley lines. I think someone said too about there's some history here with ancestors about this area of history, which I don't
There's
know much
so
about, but
much that I want to look into.
yeah,
Forgive me. I had brain
no,
surgery, which messed with my muscles. And one of the things that happens is sometimes I
swallowing.
swallow wrong and I start choking.
Yeah, not there to give you the Heimlich, but
People are like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I'm drowning." um, let's go on with the justice card. Okay, new readers tend to forget that we are dealing with actual lives. Every time we lay out a spread, our words have an impact, like we're saying, and that if we don't use that extreme caution, we could really screw someone up. Um, my friend Gerald Schwab, who was actually the first interview I did for Behind the Cards, always prefaces his online presentations with entertainment value only. Please do not make
life
decisions based
changing.
on what you hear. Okay. I kind of ride the line on that. My personal opinion is yeah, people are coming to you with help in making decisions. So it's a personal call, I guess I would say. Um, what guidelines should readers stick to as to not damage their clients and to stay out of legal troubles?
I think there's a big ethical responsibility, and I always do, especially if I use pendulum in my readings, because it's a yes and no. I always preface it by, you have the ability to change your fate and by your choices that you make. So I'm just telling you one outcome. But if you take that and you choose to change that, you can. And I think an epic, really good story I had was when I was taking a class somewhere. Um, a, a medium was leading it, and she was saying how a young lady came to her for a reading. And when she was looking, she didn't see anything for the future for this young lady. And in her mind, that meant she would no longer be here. So instead of saying that, she kind of taught us like what she did. She asked Spirit to show her more. And Spirit showed her walking down like the sidewalk on her phone, not paying attention. And of course, a car probably hit her. So she kind of said the way you can change things around and help people to kind of change a negative outcome is she just looked at the girl and she goes, you're rather kind of thoughtless. You just walk down the road and you're looking at your phone. Spirit shows me you're not paying attention. She's like, and you could really hurt somebody by doing that. And she said then the following year, the girl came back to her for a reading. So that was a big aha moment to me is like, even though you see a negative thing, if you can ask Spirit to show you more details, you can turn that around so that it's a positive outcome change for them. So give them an alternative to be aware. Like if you knew you were going to have a car accident, wouldn't you be a little more cautious if you were
Right.
driving for the next month? So
Like
something similar to that.
the Ten of Swords, let's say, it is an end of a painful situation, but it also gives you hope by the sun that's on the card. You're not just saying shit's gonna happen, but
Yeah.
you're also telling them you can get past this. There will be a new beginning for you. So I fully agree with what you just said. That's phenomenal. The Hanged Man is our next card. The Hanged Man is associated with the planet Neptune, and Neptune is the planet of dreams and illusions. What was the biggest illusion you were under before you started tarot?
I love
Uh-oh.
cards.
Oh,
Oh,
there you are.
I think my timer went off. It was the I think it was just that I was thinking you had to go by what the card meant and you couldn't go off of that. It was that part of, oh, I'm going to say the wrong thing and not trusting like my intuition, And I think that's that intuition that, we always doubt. It's that inner voice Paul talks about in his books. Like that inner
That
voice,
was
are you,
all.
yeah, are you really listening to that inner voice? And people often say if you really sat down and listened instead of thinking about what you wanted a decision to be, what would be that response versus, instead of being in your head? So is
Right.
that just learning to trust, that was going to be okay and not that it had to be a specific way. There is really no specific way. We're all different. We all have different gifts. We all interpret things different and bring different things to the table. So
Yeah, I think my biggest illusion was that people were going to be okay with everything with tarot. Uh, I grew up spirituality, magic. This was all okay. It was a given. I just assumed everybody in the world accepted the same thing. It came as a great shock when I found out that I was going to hell and burn. Like, really?
no, no, I
That's
will agree with you. People, it's amazing though that sometimes you'll like, I know in my normal world, like I'll be cautious about what I mention about what I do or what we have here sometimes if I'm in my nursing job. But then all of a sudden you mention some little tidbit and someone really piques their interest. And then I'm like, okay, well, this is a safe space to start to share. So you never know though. It always shocks me the people. I
never.
just gave a reading to a
Some of
police officer the
my
other day.
so religious. There's some of my clients are so church going and
Yeah,
religious, and then they turn around and go visit psychics.
yeah.
Um, but shh, don't tell anybody I'm here, okay? Well, I wasn't planning on it. Your reading is
Yeah.
your reading. This, and I I tell people their reading is confidential. I can be compelled because I'm not a doctor or lawyer, so don't tell me anything illegal. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I don't care a lot of the time. um, I do create my boundaries when I'm doing card reading. Uh,
Oh,
the death card is next up on our hit list. Okay.
okay.
One of the reasons that I do these videos is to help change the way that tarot cards and tarot readers in general are viewed. We are people. Okay. And I like to present the story that goes on behind the cards. What preconceived notions that people have about you get on your nerves?
Hmm. I don't know, because maybe they don't tell me, Robert.
Good
um,
point.
yeah, I don't, I'm
I
not
find it
really
hard
sure
to
how
think
to
anybody
answer.
would have an issue with you. You're so sweet, you're so soft spoken, and you're so positive all the time. I don't think I've ever seen you without a smile. A one time, um,
But I can get a
um,
little frazzled. My
I
kids
was
might tell
with
you I can be.
somebody that eventually we both had similar viewpoints on, but
Yeah.
you weren't smiling that day.
No. I think heavy negativity, like if someone's just really negative, like, and everything you're saying, I want to be positive, they just come at you like, no, that's not going to work. No, I can't do that. Like that, I tend to just walk away from that kind of energy because you can't really change that. And
What sign are
it's,
you?
I'm a Libra,
Libra.
so
I was to say air
yeah,
sign because that's Aquarius energy walking away like
yeah.
that. You know,
I like walking in.
I'm not going
Not,
to engage with you. I'm sorry.
not going to engage, but yeah.
Temperance is associated with healing. How can tarot help heal somebody?
Oh, I think it amazingly heals somebody. I may have to run in and plug in my phone. It's going on low power, so if I lose you. But I feel it's amazingly healing. At least my readings all feel healing to people. Like they start to cry. They feel like I've helped them like through a situation. So a lot of what I give readings is about what's going on, what you're going through, or maybe a trauma that spirit shows me, and like how this is a growth period and how positive things are going to come out from that. Because I think sometimes when you're going through things, you can get so down that you're worried that there's no way out, or you get depressed, or I mean, in today's society people are a lot of that way, and just giving them a little bit of hope that like there is light at the end of this tunnel, there is healing, you will recover from this. And a lot of times, guess what, there's so many better things coming than you could ever have anticipated. You just can't see it because of what you're in right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. Tarot is used to help see what they can't see because they're in the forest, and we help them see that hope, and hopefully we can provide a method for them to reach that hope and make it a reality, make it manifest. And if I'm able to help point a guiding light or give it somebody direction, I feel like life
Absolutely.
is doing something positive. Um, the devil card is next up. In all honesty, I have to say that I do have an addictive nature. I am a recovering addict alcoholic. I've been clean for 20 years.
Congratulations.
The When I was young, it was substances, but now I, I'm addicted to buying tarot decks, Frankie.
That's not the worst addiction you can have, Robert. I'll
I,
take that one.
I got most of the decks I want. What is the deck that you would like to have that you don't have? And what is the deck that you have that you can't live without?
I can't live without my Scarpini deck because that was my first one. And I even bought a second one just because I was worried that I wouldn't be able to get it down the road. I also do love my Doreen Virtue Angel card deck.
Oh,
Like,
yes, Doreen Virtue is phenomenal.
I love that deck and I have it, and that, I took her class with it, and I still to this day will pull that deck out to use it when I'm doing readings for people. Um, I guess artwork calls to me from a deck. So I have to actually see the deck to like get a feel for the artwork. And that has to talk to me. And then I'm like you, I have a little bit of a dangerous habit of collecting decks, although I'm trying not to go too crazy.
Yeah.
But I also love Oracle decks. So I have a lot of Oracle decks I work with too.
I
So not
narrowed
just
it
tarot.
down to where I only use 2 Oracle decks,
Okay.
technically 3, but well,
What's
I
your favorite Oracle deck?
well, my Oracle of the Hecatean Path I use for spiritual work on a daily
Okay.
basis. So every morning when I clean my altar and clean my room up, I'm doing my draws with that deck because that is my hotline to the gods. Um, but for professional readings, I use the Talisman Oracle. I don't know. It's
Okay.
a black deck with beautiful sigils written. Oh, it's gorgeous. Everybody loves it. And then an herbal oracle deck. I'm trying to learn herbs.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. The tower is the next card up. What was your most memorable tower moment?
Uh,
And if you could Describe
I
to the
think,
people what the tower moment is.
don't we have a tower moment quite often where things drastically change or they're unexpected? I feel like life is that journey. You always tell people, like, just when you think everything's going to be okay, or we used to say, like, when I have that money saved, or when I get to this situation, or when I do this thing, everything's going to be okay. And I worked in the mental health field as a nurse, and I found like life is about how you cope with things and how you get through situations. And so the biggest thing is like you're going to have a challenge all the time throughout your life. Life is never going to throw you curveballs, and some are going to be way worse than others, but it's all how you handle it with grace. And if you have a support system around you, that's even better. Um, I've not had much of a support system ever. So I think it's just that moment. And I can tell you, like, just when you think everything's good, there's always going to be a tower moment. And I can say I've had so many of them, but just be strong and just keep trying. And never be ashamed or embarrassed about anything, because if you have really good friends who are truly your friends, they will be there no matter what happens to you. I have a friend going through something, and she's so embarrassed by everything. But you know what? I always tell people you could be that homeless person on the street. We're all 1 minute away from losing everything we have, getting cancer. I mean, anything could change your life tomorrow to be totally different. So it's that non-judgment we talk about with Paul and his books and stuff. And that's been like the biggest lesson is like, we're all leading a life. And if you talk to anybody I challenge you talk to has some kind of challenge they've overcome or trauma from their past.
Right.
And it's just being compassionate and understanding that we all are going through stuff. And why not uplift each other instead of tearing each other
I
down?
agree. Life would be so much better if we could all come together. I've said it before to a lot of people in this county. I've worked very hard to try to bring people together in my own way, and a lot of the time it blew up in my face. A lot of people just don't want that unity or
You're
don't
gonna
want to be
always
a part of it.
Yeah, I think you're going to always get that, but then you know what? We'll weed out the people who do want to be part of a community and support it. So the ones who don't, that's okay. Let them do their own thing, but they'll kind of fall by the wayside, and then the people who are truly there for the right reasons will bond and be together as a group, and that's okay too, right?
I fully agree. The star shows resilience and recovery from those tower moments. Um,
Mhm.
how do you recover from difficult situations?
I guess I do like some of my alone time. So even if I'm like working a job that I'm really not that happy about, um,
Right.
I'm a huge grounding outside person. So even at my new job now, I'm struggling with. I'm like, I gotta go outside for 5 minutes and just walk around. Like I just have to go out in nature. So to me, it's being in nature, or it's being alone, or just taking some time. Like just, I think self-love is a big thing. Like we we just did a compassion meditation I did the other night, and one of it was like have compassion for somebody you really love and care about, and imagine them struggling and giving them like golden energy from your heart. And then there were 5 different situations, but one was, okay, now imagine having that compassion for yourself and sending yourself that love. And then another was send it to an enemy. And at the end, I said, so what was the hardest, who was the hardest person to send that love and compassion to? And a lot of people said themselves. But I said, how come it's so hard? It's so easy for us to give compassion and love for somebody else, but why would we not treat ourselves like we would be willing to treat anybody else? Why don't we do that more?
I tell people nobody is going to make you their priority. You need to make yourself your priority. It's okay to be there for others, but you have to take care of yourself first. It's just the way it is. There's no debate about it. If you can't be strong, you can't be strong for somebody else. Okay? So
Absolutely.
you've got to find that strength for yourself
Yeah.
and act on it. Um, the moon is our next card, and it deals with deception and what is hidden. How do you handle the client that you know with every fiber of your being is lying through their capped teeth?
It's the client that comes and sits down, and everything you say to them, they're like, no, that doesn't, no. But I'm like, I can't be that wrong
Right.
about what I'm saying, but there are those clients that either they have like a barrier up so they don't want to really be read, and you're not going to really get much for them, and that's okay. Yeah, I have had one person I said to him that was totally stoic, wouldn't say a thing. I'm getting nothing. And I just said, I'm so sorry. Like, this is unusual, but I am just not getting anything, and I'd be happy to give you your money back because, like, I'm just not. I don't know what to say, But yeah, it's just that trying to do the best you can and realizing that you're not gonna get a spiritual message for everybody. Maybe it's just not even their time.
Sometimes what we do can be dangerous occasionally. Were you aware that I had a situation at the last event we did?
I heard something was going on, but I did. Oh, like was it the wife and then the husband? Is what I heard.
Well, I didn't know that he was there. First of all, she came in talking about needing answers in her relationship. So we did a relationship spread. And I asked, was there cheating? Was there this? Was there that? And she's like, yes, yes, yes. I said, and you are dealing with each other. You're working things out. She says, yes, we're working things out. I said, but you don't know everything yet, do you? She says, I don't think I do. And I said, well, according to this, no, you don't. I didn't think anything of it until 20 minutes later when this man came and sat down at my table saying, you just talked to my fiance. And he starts taking off his rings and his watch and his
Oh,
bracelet. And
I didn't know that part.
I'm like, bitch is about to fight me. And I thought to myself, I have two ways to go with this. I could either backpedal, which is
Against
admitting
your
or
belief.
saying that I I lied. I'm no, just, or I could lean into it, be confident in what I read, and say, yep. And that's what I did. I said, yeah, I know she was. I said, you told her this. I said, I showed her the cards and I told her what they meant. Yeah. And I read his cards and it was the same thing. I said, you haven't told her everything. Nah. And I was like, well, this is not on me, brother. This is on you. Okay. You're the one that needs to deal with this. So, again, it's ethics. We got to be careful what we say and how we say it because it can affect other people's lives. And that was a prime example, but it can come back and put our lives in a little bit of
Yeah.
issue. Okay.
No, it's very true. So, and you
And
can get people who get very obsessive, and I've heard of readers saying where there's somebody who comes like every week for a reading, and they just want you to tell them something, and at that point you have to make a decision about is this a healthy relationship to maintain, and maybe you don't read for them anymore. So
no, I put down guidelines. If I've read for you within the past 2 months, I'm not going to see you
yeah,
unless it's on a totally unrelated topic. Then we can talk. But if you're planning on coming to see me every week, no,
no.
I'm not that kind of reader. That's not why I do this. So we got the moon out of the way. The sun. I've been in my relationship for 25 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Um, a lot of people would like to know, are you single? Are you dating anybody? What's
Oh. So I've been divorced 14 years. I'm single, and I just don't think I'm meant to be in a relationship. It would have to be somebody really special. I was never one of those young girls who wanted to get married. That was never a goal. think because I came from a family where my parents were divorced and they didn't stick around, and I just didn't see a great example of true love. So I feel like if you found that special somebody, that's really rare, and I'm so happy for you if you did. And
Anything I am right now, I owe to him, because when we met, I was a heavy drinker. I was a bartender. I lived a completely different life, and he went to work on me, and this is the result. So I'll give him that. But he's taught me how to be strong in myself and not care what other people think.
yeah.
Um, and
I think you're an amazing person, and if he's done that, you're so lucky to have someone that empowers you and stands by you. And I think today it's really rare to find, and it's hard to find. So
he's all right. He's got his moments.
don't we all?
um, what makes you happy?
I love reading, so I always have a fictional novel going on my phone. Um, I love laying out by the pool and reading. That would be like my perfect day. I don't have a pool right now, but maybe
I was
one
going to say,
day.
I've been to your house, Frankie. We don't have a pool.
No, back home, my old house, we graduated to a 20-foot above ground, and I really was the one who used it once the kids got older. But hot tub and a pool, like that is the vision in the future. That could be an add-on to the facility. Um, yeah, I'm just, my dream was if I could wake up every day and live a retreat where there was yoga going on or meditation every morning. There were classes I could sit in on. And we have guest teachers all the time, and I'm just bopping all around, jumping in, saying hi to everybody, seeing what's going on. Like, that would be my dream, is to live in my retreat and wake up every day to be able to
Totally
do
see you
that.
doing that. I
So
completely see that. I'll help you manifest that. We'll work on
I'm working on it.
it. Judgment card is next up on our hit list. Let me get the light out of the way. What's next for you? What projects do you have in the works right now? I know we've got a psychic fair coming up. And what else is
um,
on the menu?
we've got
What
the
classes
psychic
do you have?
fair. We've got summer solstice. We're doing a cacao ceremony with Amy, and I have a new yoga teacher who's going to do some Hathaway yoga with chanting, and she wants to do some frog medicine in the future, which I'm not totally familiar, but she's going to talk to us about that. I have a lady who reached out about psychedelics, who does plant medicine, who is coming to meet me next week about possibly doing a psychedelic plant retreat of some kind. I'm still learning about that. We're doing mini psychic fairs, so I was going to ask you if you wanted to participate in July. We did our first one last month with free readers here at the facility,
I
and
heard it was a phenomenal success.
we had 11 people, so not a ton, but it was fun. It was really intimate and fun.
The people that showed up were really positive
Yeah,
here.
really good. So I wanted to see if you wanted to join in and be one of the 3 next month. After we do the big one, and I'm always looking for guest teachers and people, and we're going to do speakers at this festival. So I'm going to put a venue up where I already have 6 guest speakers. People are dying to talk about stuff. So I think it's going to be adding a really fun element, because people can get up and talk about what they're passionate about and what they're doing. And I welcome people to do that. And maybe we'll even have future classes from some of them. Who knows? But I'm just looking for great ideas, teachers, classes.
I have an idea for a class I'd like to do at your center.
Sure.
An astrological aspect of tarot would be
Okay.
something I'd like, because that's pretty big with my readings.
Yeah.
We'll get together and we'll talk about that. The last card is the world, and this I didn't really prepare a question for. I kind of leave it open for you to tell me what you would like to add in case we've missed anything.
No, I think just when I think of the world, I think of just including everybody and everybody having the world given to them of what they want. And when we do our monthly meditation here, I always include as we open up and bring the light down, as we bring it to through ourselves, but then through everybody else at the healing circle, and then eventually just around the world. Because isn't that what this age of Aquarius is about? Healing the world, about all of us bringing our healing energy in different ways to make things better, better for everybody,
I've
And I
told
think,
you this before. I think that this something in this area is drawing people to us, and
yeah,
there's something gonna happen here. It's
it's
just
inevitable, I have a feeling.
inevitable. That's the word.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, Frankie, I really want to thank you. I'm gonna put a link to your Facebook page onto
Yay.
the description box. Um, I just want to close out by saying you're a phenomenal woman. I'm excited for everything going on at your center. The psychic fairs you put together and promote, love them. You're
Good.
such a positive light for what we do, and I for one appreciate you. Um, so
Cool.
I will get together with you and we'll talk later. Thank you guys
Yeah.
for being with us, and see you on
Thank
the
you,
next
Robert. I
video.
think you're wonderful. And I think this is amazing. So
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Wait.